going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we have a fun one for you guys where we are going to be going over 10 free agent targets for the New York Jets this offseason, and also talking some quarterbacks on today's show with some uncertainty on Aaron Rodgers returning as QB1 this offseason. But before we dive into it, I want to get you guys an updated look at our sub battle with our New York Giants channel here at Chat Sports. They're a wagon. They got almost 65,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and we just started our Jets Report channel the other day, and we only have around 1,400. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button, help me out, help me go beat Marshall Green and Giants now in subscribers. It's a lofty goal, but hey, if you guys hit that subscribe button, you guys can get us one step closer to the catching Giants now in subscribers. All right, let's start off with talking about Justin Fields here. A polarizing player, there's no doubt about it. And, you know, he had an up and down year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I do think what we saw last year from Justin Fields was the best he has looked in his short NFL career. Now, he only started 6 games with Pittsburgh, but he did throw for just over 1,100 yards, had a solid touchdown to interception ratio, 5-1, and he actually had a completion percentage just under 66, which is the highest in his NFL career, and the QBR sits at 51.1. But there's no doubt with Justin Fields, you know, what I was just saying, he's a polarizing player. There's a ton of pros and cons to his game. And we're going to start off with the pros here. I still believe he has sky-high upside. You know, this guy is an elite athlete. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, with him being an elite athlete, he has a dynamic rushing threat to him. And just watching the Philadelphia Eagles this past postseason run, having a guy like Jalen Hurts, very similar play style to Justin Fields, having that ability on those, you know, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1s to just get under center and run a tush push or a QB sneak. I think that has serious value in the modern day game in the NFL. And plus, you would get him on an affordable contract. You know, CBS projected him to sign a 1-year, $10 million deal with a team. They actually projected that with the New York Jets this offseason. So there are a lot of pros with Justin Fields, but there are some cons. And, you know, the biggest con here is just the in-structure playmaking. You know, when this play is on time and on script, can Justin Fields consistently over and over again get the ball out on time? We haven't really seen that. And also, he holds on to the ball a little too long. He runs into a lot of sacks. I don't think he has the best pocket presence in the National Football League. And still, there are some concerns around his accuracy, you know, just hitting those consistent 5-yard outs just to hope that offense dink and dunk their way up the field. We haven't seen that. And then also, he's got a lack of playoff experience. Only started in 1 game with the Chicago Bears where they lost to the New Orleans Saints. But, you know, I think there's pros and cons of Fields. But if they weren't going to bring back Aaron Rodgers, I think Fields would be the number 1 option for me to be the quarterback of the New York Jets next season. But let's dive into another quarterback, a familiar friend here in New York, Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold, he had a very up and down year for the Minnesota Vikings this past season where, you know, he came on in the first 17 games. He was fantastic, man. 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, throwing for just over 4,300 yards, and he was very accurate with the football. But then we saw in the last 2 games against the Lions in Week 18 with all the marbles, you know, with everything on the line in that game, he struggled. And then in the playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams, it was not his best performance. And in combined, both those games, just over 400 yards, only threw for 1 touchdown, and that came in garbage time late in the Rams game. But, you know, my overall take on Darnold here, I think he is a very, you know, good quarterback, but he does have his, you know, cons to his game. I think he holds on to the ball way too long. We saw him this past season with the Vikes run into a lot of sacks, and he's not the most accurate quarterback in terms of just dinking and dunking his way up the field, but he does have a very explosive arm. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league on 20-plus air yard throws this past season, and with the weapons on the outside, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, I mean, you would have a better offense than you would, in my opinion, with a guy like Aaron Rodgers or a guy like Justin Fields, but it's going to come down to his contract. People still project him to sign a $40+ million deal this offseason. And if I'm the Jets, there is just no way I am doing that. I think they need to pivot to either get a strong bridge quarterback or then eventually just go draft a guy in the next couple of NFL drafts. But let's kick it to the offensive line here. A guy who just clinched his ticket to the Super Bowl last night, Trey Smith, offensive guard for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Trey Smith, one of the best guards in the National Football League. And, you know, last offseason, Robert Hunt reset the offensive guard market here, signing a 5-year, $100 million deal. I think Trey Smith's going to top that. I could see him even signing a 4 for $100 million deal. Comes out to about $25 million per year, but he grades out very, very well. Overall grade 78.8, pass block grade 70.6, run block grade 80.8. He is just consistent at that offensive line spot. And if the Jets just want to solidify that interior just a little bit, Trey Smith is a great option for the New York Jets. But let's kick at the defense here and talk about Zack Baun, linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, who had an absolute breakout year this past season. He actually got an All-Pro nod in his first season with the Eagles. But he is a free agent, and I'm very curious to see what his contract's going to be here. But he is a playmaker. I mean, even just watching the Commanders-Eagles game yesterday, he was fantastic, flying around the football field, making plays, just really getting the most out of just his natural athletic ability. I mean, 93 tackles on the season, 3.5 sacks. He was very, very solid. And the thing I love about Zack Bond the most, he's got a contagious energy out there on the football field. When he's flying around, I feel like it just, comes off to the other guys on that side of the field, and they're flying around with him. I think he's a great linebacker, and him next to Quincy Williams, I mean, that would be a dynamic duo for the New York Jets at that linebacker position. But let's dive into another polarizing player here, Javon Howen, safety of the Miami Dolphins. Now, PFF actually listed him as a top 10 free agent this offseason, and there's no doubt he is a good player, but if you talk to Dolphins fans, they were very, very frustrated with Jevon Holland's play this past season. And even just talking to Nick Roloff here, our Dolphins Today host, he thinks it would be a bad idea for them to, extend him on a $20 million per year salary. But, he has been consistent throughout his NFL career. He is a solid player. There is no doubt about that. But, with where the Jets are and where they're going to, allocate their funds this offseason, I don't know if it would necessarily make a whole lot of sense to send them to a guy like Jevon Holland, giving him upwards of $20 million per year. I just don't necessarily think that would be the best call for the New York Jets. I would rather have them go in the trenches, because after watching the games yesterday between the Eagles and the Chiefs, man, I mean, those guys just dominate in the trenches. But here are his coverage stats from this past season, giving up 23 receptions on 36 targets. He did have 2 PBUs, allowed 2 touchdowns for just over 275 yards total on the season, and he allowed a quarterback rating of 107.3. He's a good player, but does he deserve to be making great money? I'm going to probably say no. But we got 5 more free agent targets coming up here in a second. But a little break. Name a free agent you guys want the Jets to sign this offseason. Who is it? Give me that name down below in the comment section. Curious to see what you guys have to say. Now, one of my favorite free agents this year is actually the center for the Atlanta Falcons, Drew Dalman, who has had a sneaky great start to his NFL career. He is 26 years old, so he's entering his prime. But PFF, they love this guy. He was actually the 4th rated center in the National Football League this past season, grading out at 78.8, and run block fantastic, 79.8 overall grade. Pass block about middle of the pack at 66.6. But this guy, he's entering his prime. I think his best football is yet to be played in his NFL career, and if you could somehow swing this guy, be the center for a bridge quarterback, then potentially getting your franchise quarterback for the next couple of years, I think this would be a great move for the New York Jets. But we're going to kick it back to defense here. How about a little Bobby Wagner of the Washington Commanders? Now, Bobby Wagner had a great year for Washington. Didn't have his best game yesterday versus the Philadelphia Eagles as Saquon Barkley ran all over that defense. But Bobby Wagner, I mean, there is no doubt about it. He is a solid linebacker. And, I think Bobby Wagner is one of those guys where, Father Time will continuously try to tap him on the shoulder, but he just keeps on saying, no, that is not my time to go. And he is just truly, one of the most consistent linebackers in the National Football League. I mean, PFF loves him this past season, 89.9 overall grade. That was 3rd in the National Football League. And he actually had the highest pass rush grade in the whole NFL this past season at 91.0. That's 1st in the league. His run defense grade at 90.8, which was 3rd in the league. Coverage did struggle just a little bit, but still very, very solid at a 68.1 overall grade. Now, this would be a guy you bring in on a 1-year, probably 5 to 7, maybe even $10 million deal since he is up there in age. But Bobby Wagner, I think, would be a great addition to get you better on the margins this offseason. Now, another veteran in the National Football League, how about a little Khalil Mack, edge rusher, played his last couple of seasons with the Los Angeles Chargers. And I'm a big Khalil Mack fan. He's a solid player still. I mean, even though the raw numbers aren't going to blow you away from this past season, he was great according to PFF. 90.4 overall grade. That was 5th in the National Football League. That's incredible stuff. I mean, him and Bobby Wagner still getting it done on defense, even at their older age, but run defense, 88 overall grade, second in the league, great at setting the edge, turning those guys back inside to those defensive linemen. But CLE Mack, very similar to Bobby Wagner, will probably be a 1 year, $5, $7, $10 million deal, but a great guy to get you better on the margins. Now, we're going to kick it to a defensive tackle here, the Philadelphia Eagles, Milton Williams. I'm a big fan of this guy's game, and I'm a big fan of just the intensity he plays with. You can feel it throughout through the TV screen. Anytime he's making a big-time play, he's getting up there, screaming a let's go, firing up his teammates. But PFF grades him out pretty well. 70.1 overall grade, 31st out of 219 eligible defensive tackles, but the pass rush grade. This guy is fantastic at getting to the quarterback at that interior defensive line, and him next to Quinnen Williams, who's one of the best defensive tackles in the run game in the NFL, I think that'll be a great signing because he does struggle in his run defense, grades out at only 43.1 overall. But back to the interior of the offensive line here, Willie Fries, man. He's an underrated guard in the National Football League, had a very solid year for the Indianapolis Colts, and they always have great interior offensive linemen, but there are questions if the Colts are going to be able to re-sign him, and Willie Fries had a great year. Grades out very well according to PFF, 4th overall guard in the National Football League at an 86.9 overall grade, pass box 74.9, very solid there, but he loves getting downhill. He loves the run blocking department, grades out in an 84.9, which is 5th in the entire NFL. But going through all these free agents, I think the Jets got a lot of questions to be answered. Like, what are you going to do with Devontae Adams' cap hit? What are you going to do with Aaron Rodgers' cap hit? Like, can you somehow, extend those guys, lower that cap hit, and then get more money to spend in free agency? Because, their cap situation right now is very, challenging to work around those issues. But still, I think the Jets could be making a couple of moves. Again, it will come down to Aaron Rodgers, come down to Devontae Adams. What do they do at those key positions? But those are 10 free agents that I could see the New York Jets signing this offseason. And if you guys made it to the end of today's show, just give me a real one down below in the comments section. We'll use this as a real one roll call on today's video. Love seeing the guys that watch the entire thing. So type a real one if you watch this entire video, and also make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Jets.